I am super excited to get out here and make a video. It has been at least a week since I've been out and really made a video, but so much has changed here. It's consistently 90 degrees every day in Southeast Texas. That's about 32 degrees Celsius, so it is hot, and the hottest months of the year is yet to come. We have a lot of grass. I swear I come out here and weed this almost every day and it just keeps popping back up. Before I really decided that I wanted to start a permaculture style garden in my yard, and I thought, oh, Bermuda grass, it's so pretty. It'll be great. Nothing can kill it. And sure enough, it's pretty, and it's not so great because I want to grow food, and nothing can kill the Bermuda grass. So here we have, I want to say this is a Hell's Best cantaloupe. I planted the seed a little over a week ago, and I'm not kidding. This is a week-old baby. Maybe a little over a week, but it's definitely not even 2 weeks. They just grow so quickly, and here's another one popping up. The idea is that these cantaloupes will grow and protect the soil from all the heat and the drought, and keep it moist, to keep it from all of the moisture evaporating, because even with compost in here that has wood mulch, even with actual mulch on it, it's getting so hot. I can't keep up with watering. It's been raining once, sometimes twice a day, every other day, sometimes a few days in a row, and still, with it raining and with it being heavily mulched in areas, I just can't keep it hydrated. Here are some tomatoes. These are Cherokee purple tomatoes. Usually have really good luck with these. This year I didn't, and I think it's actually my fault, because the idea originally was, this bed's 12 inches deep, and originally I was going to stack another piece of wood over it over time and fill it up so that we could get a really good established root system for these tomatoes. And that never happened. So they have about 10 inches of soil, and that's it. And the beds are open so they could reach underneath it, but we have a really hard gumbo clay soil, so it's not the easiest thing for them to grow in. And I just got these starts from HEB, and I actually have Cherokee purple seeds, but I've never grown them from seed. So this is what the tomato looks like. I'm really confident that we'll see tomatoes from these by the end of the season, because they actually usually do pretty well. All of these plants, they're still in kind of shock because I transplanted them. These are all prime art blackberries, and they're actually started at the University of Arkansas. This is their variety, and they're one of the only thornless varieties in North America, and I really love them because they produce actually 2 crops of blackberries a year. Is not uncommon, so they flower in both spring and fall, so you just get a continued amount of blackberries, and they don't have to be too much bigger than this. By your first year, you usually see blackberries in the fall, but by the second year, you definitely see blackberries, and I love them because they grow and they take over, and that may be a con for you. For me, it's really great because they just continue to grow and they take over everything. And you can see the new growth is starting. Oh, if you have these blackberries in soil that is too rich, then they'll actually get what's called chlorosis, which is really bad for them. And that's what I thought they had. I thought, oh, I must have too much compost in here. But actually, it turns out that they just have transplant shock, because I have one that I'll show in a little bit in the other bed, and it's actually doing really well. So here's some more Hell's Best cantaloupe. I plant them on both sides of the bed, and if it gets to be too much for this bed to handle, I'm just going to let them grow over the side of the wood onto the ground here, and just let them take over the grass. This tomato plant is over 4 feet tall. It's doing so well, and I haven't staked them yet. I was planning on putting cattle panel in here. Now I'm thinking I may put a different type of trellis in. these won't grow here next year. Next year it'll just be the blackberries, and that's it. So here are the tomato blossoms, and they're growing. These are black Krim tomatoes, and I actually have a couple. So I set off, I wasn't going to prune these. I said, oh, I'm just going to let them bush out and do their own thing. But as the leaves started to die naturally, I trimmed them back, and they pretty much pruned themselves. As you can see, this one's over 5 foot tall. It's well over my shoulders. I'm about 5'5", and this one's just, it's almost as tall as me, and they just continue to grow.
You do have pumpkins planted there.
Yeah, these are tomatoes. Aren't they pretty? My little sister is over here. I have an 8-year-old sister named Jersey, and she's over hanging out with us today. I'm super... Where the sun touches them, they have a tendency to turn a black color. And this one, you can see it's not even ripe all the time, but it's a deep red. It's different than normal red tomatoes. It's more of a dusky, maroonish brown color. It's actually really pretty. And I haven't got any tomatoes off of these plants. These are my first 2 tomatoes this year. They say they get up to 12 ounces. So, but I've seen good 4 to 6 ounce tomatoes.
You have some tomatoes.
We do have some tomatoes that are ready. We'll pick those too.
I'll pick them.
Okay, and this is another black Krim, and it's just a little guy. It's still hard and green.
These are pumpkins.
Let's see these. Oh wow, look what we have here. What she's picking, these are the Super Sweet 100. They're supposed to be much bigger plants, but they haven't got there. They're supposed to be trellised, but go ahead and pick it.
You have to pick up the...
They're just little red tomatoes. They're really tiny. Could probably fit several of them in the spoon. This is what they're supposed to look like, but we don't have a ton of trellises on them. We don't really... They're not very big at all.
These ones are not ready.
No, they are definitely not ready. Here's some underripe ones. These aren't even 2 feet tall. I thought for sure they'd grow big, but then I'm still pretty hopeful because there are a ton of flowers on them, and these tomato plants right here, they weren't doing so great, and then suddenly they shot up, and now we have ripe tomatoes and a ton of flowers, and I'm incredibly excited to see what's going to happen. These are pineapple. This is my 3rd year trying to grow striped pineapple, and I've never got a full-size fruit off them. They start and then the birds attack them, or they don't do any well. I was actually going to pull these out because I pulled out my 2 striped German tomatoes because they weren't doing well with the weather fluctuation, going from cold to hot to rain to drought. But these just suddenly started growing, so I think I'm going to leave them in and see what's the worst that can happen at this point. Over here's another black Krim tomato that's really starting to take off. I planted this much later than the other ones, but it's doing well. It's growing really big. These are supposed to be trellis because they are indeterminate, which means they'll just continue to grow until frost. They produce an undetermined amount of fruit, so there's no telling how much you can get off of them. And I really love the taste of these. They're so easy to grow, and they're kind of sweet, but still have that good tomato flavor.
Okay, so I'm gonna go check some more plants.
Okay, sister. This is a muscadine cross grape. It's actually crossed with a home garden grape and some kind of muscadine. I have no idea, to be honest. I saw them at the local grocery store. They had 4 of them, and I got all 4, and the other ones are pretty much brown and look shocked. This one's doing really well. And one of my neighbors told me when we first moved in here about 5 years ago that they actually planted a muscadine along the fence line, and it had been there for over 20 years. And sure enough, once I finally was able to identify what the leaves looked like, then I realized that we have wild muscadine grapes growing all over our yard from when she planted them, and I'm really excited about that. Some of them are really close to the chicken coop, so I'm thinking I'm gonna trellis them over the coop and allow them to grow there. Give the chickens some shade and produce some grapes. You can't beat that. These are okra. These are spineless okra, and I want to say that Clemson, I'm not sure. but they're really good okra. They don't have spines on them. A lot of okra have spikes on the stem, and these don't. And these are growing so fast, I can almost guarantee in another week they'll be about 2 feet tall. They thrive in the heat. They do so well here. And the sad thing is that a lot of people in my household actually don't like okra at all. I'm one of the only people that eats it, but I really wanted something to grow, and so I was like, I'll give okra away. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just super excited to have some growing. This is another blackberry plant. This is the same one, the Prime Art, and we've actually had this for about 2 weeks longer than the other ones, and so it's getting more established. It's doing a lot better. You can see the difference between the ones we just planted and the ones that's finally taking off, and they grow so big so quickly. And I have some larger ones that I planted along the fence line, and I'll have to show that in a different video. This is the black. No, don't think so, actually. I planted a black. Oh, there, it's way over there. Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. This is a blueberry tomato, and the stems tend to be pretty dark on them, and the leaves too, so it's easy to tell. It's just not taking off as much. It grew so quickly, just took off, and then it stopped all of a sudden. So I'm not really sure if I just don't have it very deep enough or what's going on, but we'll see what happens. And I can't for the life of me remember. I think the other one was some kind of yellow cream. It's the same size as the blueberry tomato, so it'll be small cherry sized tomato, and it's yellow, but I don't remember what it's called. I know I made a video when I transplanted saying what it was, but don't get me to lie, because I have no idea what it is. Here, a bunch more okra. This is actually a piece that was growing in a really weird way on one of my tomato plants, on one of the black Krim, and I just took it off and I stuck it in the ground, and it actually grew roots and started growing, so that's pretty cool. See some stuff on there that's not supposed to be there. We've had a really hard time with caterpillars this year. I literally picked about 25 off of a few leaves of my squash plants in one night, and it was insane. I just couldn't believe it. This is a pickling cucumber. All my other pickling cucumbers died when it got really cold again. This is the only one. I just figured I'd leave it and see what happens. Although I highly doubt I'm going to get any cucumbers off of it. Here's some more okra. And I went ahead and planted some other cucumbers. And here those are. And then I realized that those are actually sweet burpless cucumbers. My local feed store had a bunch of seeds for $1, and I thought, why not? So they're not even the right type. So we'll see what happens. Here's some more of the Hell's Best cantaloupe. So hopefully out of all of these cantaloupes, something comes from it. This is an angel decoration we really loved. My son got it from his great-grandmother, and it was sitting in her closet. And we used to go over there for Christmas every year. And so she had this. She was cutting down her Christmas decorations, and we thought it would make the perfect garden trellis. So I'm really excited to see it covered in flowers and cucumbers. This is actually a dinosaur kill. I think you pronounce it also Jacinto, something along those lines. And they're usually a winter crop. They're often grown as annuals, but they're actually biennial plants. But this one actually popped up after the cold hit in the summer, so we're just letting it grow because it's growing. I'll definitely be saving seeds from this because we are in Texas where it's incredibly hot, and this does seem to be heat resistant, this particular one. So that's definitely a baby I want to save seeds from, because if it can resist the heat, resist bolting, and continue to grow, then during winter it's gonna resist when one day it's in the 40s and the next it's suddenly 89 degrees in December. That has happened. We have been swimming on Christmas Day, and then in January or February it'll be snowing. So the weather is crazy down here, and it's unpredictable. You never know if it's going to be a drought, or if you're going to be in snow, or you're going to be in a hurricane. This right here is another type of kale. I thought it was red leaf kale. I'm not really sure. I threw the seeds down months ago. I'm not sure how it's just now suddenly coming up, but it's growing and I'm just gonna let it happen. So this is, we'll go swimming after a while. So this is just a look at the 2 side garden beds. I'll do another video of the front garden bed because I'm really excited. I've been sharing our tomatillos and we actually had our first harvest. It was just 2 tomatillos.